Welcome to another episode of Last Waff Tonight. I'll be your host, Wolfgang Doghouse, thirster of the delicious Herculean man mountain that is John Oliver. Park your Mini Cooper in my garage, you finely tuned brummy boff machine. Spatter your yogurt all over my biscuit munchers, you slippery otter you. Just to be clear, that's a tube of Go-Gurt, and yes, I paid money for that. Moving on. Our main topic tonight concerns waffs, wolves, forest doggos, lobos, undiluted, unfiltered, and not inbred, canines. Clearly the greatest creature to ever be bestowed upon this grand planet Earth, whose majesty is unquestioned, their beauty unrivaled, brilliance unmatched, and libido? Insatiable. But don't get too excited now. We've got a lot to cover, and I'm not just talking about ill-fitting boxer briefs.
Do these make my thighs look fat?
Sexy. Oh no, there's so much to talk about. This episode will be broken into 2 parts. Why? Is it just because I'm biased? Pfft. It will be apparent by the end of this episode that I am not the least bit biased. Nah. Wolves just have a very complicated relationship with mankind, and are notably one of the most feared and misunderstood animals throughout history. It's because of these fears and misunderstandings that we've almost lost them forever on several occasions. However, when we talk about wolves today, I find that many people are also under the false impression that their restoration was a battle that was fought and won. Sadly, this is not the case. The threat for wolves' continued existence remains in danger, whilst not actually being listed as such under the Endangered Species Act in several states, like the states with actual wolf populations. I invite you all to join me to learn a little bit, or a lot of it, about wolves, what is happening and why, and what we can all do to help bring more stability and balance to our world. So where do we begin? Well gosh, it's hard to decide. We'll need to discuss their perfect pack structure and family life, the differences between brilliant wolves and dorky doggos, their incredible role in the environment and historic ranges, and clearly illustrate that while the Wonderpus photogenicus may be the coolest marine creature, wolves are the coolest terrestrial creature. Wafficus pinnacalius. Unfortunately, we'll also have to discuss some really crappy subjects like earlier wolf eradication efforts, anti-wolf legislation, and the threat to their continued existence. So let's get to it. I suppose the best place to start would be with some basic but interesting wolf facts and dispel some common misconceptions. And geez, there's a lot of misconceptions. First and foremost, there's no such thing as an alpha male or female. There is a bestest wolf though, and that's me. Okay, bestest wolf host.
There aren't any other wolf hosts though.
Stop. But yeah, no such thing as alphas. Wolf packs are family units, so if you want to call your parents alphas, okay, that's fine I guess. Now that I've already angered some of the wolves who are watching this within the first few minutes of this presentation, let's just keep that ball rolling a little longer. Lone wolves generally don't last long by themselves. They're either in search of finding a mate to create their own pack, in which case the goal is to stop being alone, or they've been kicked out, which doesn't happen very often and isn't a good thing. Even then, they're going to want to find or create a pack, or their chances of survival will be drastically decreased. In summary, those who have alpha in their online handles don't know much about wolves. They project their own insecurities by modeling themselves after ignorant understanding of pack structures in wolves that has no bearing in reality. Perhaps they just watched too many silly movies. Those with lone in their online handles want to be mysterious and cool, whilst also not wanting to be in any romantic relationships or have any friends. Okay, well, Alpha Daddy and Lone Dad are pretty great though. But those are the only exceptions. If you want a more accurate line to add to your wolfy profiles, you may want to go with Fierce Grey Wolf, who supports and protects the pack while allowing myself to be vulnerable enough for others to support me too. Please hold a moment so I can quickly ask my secretary to filter all the hate mail I'm bound to receive from Alpha Wolf 69 and Lone Wolf 1337 and forward it all to Tucker Carlson so he can read it while he's tanning his nethers. Maverick? Could you do that thing for me, please?
I'm not your secretary.
Excellent.
I didn't agree to this.
Thank you. As I was saying, there are a ton of misconceptions about wolves. The public's view has gotten a lot better over the years, but the way that our governing agencies manage them is much the same. Wolves aren't disguising themselves as sheep. Don't mind my tie. But powerful entities certainly do pull the wool over our eyes. Before we get too caught up in all of that, though, let's talk about how amazing wolves are. For example, did you know that wolves have the most beautiful footpaws? They really are amazing. Some of you might even say that they are our best features. But if everything about you is perfect, can you really say which perfect feature is better than the other flawless feature? But anyways, look at these beans! You can't get better beans than these right here. They are huge, much larger than the average teeny doggo paws. They are bappy, and they are webbed. You'll have to trust me on that last one. They even smell like Fritos and popcorn. Well, technically it's like a unique blend of Fritos and popcorn made specifically for us. We have scent glands in our paws, and our scents are all unique. So all the more reason to sniff every one of them, am I right? But human feet look weird, and they smell like fermented cheese. Gross! Paws are superior in every way, and they help us dominate most any environment, even water. Yes, wolves have been recorded swimming over 7.5 miles in a single stretch. We're also quite proficient fisher wolves. Fisher wolves, yeah. We've got super keen eyesight, and while we can't see shades of reds, yellows, or greens or watch the new Avatar movie in 3D, we have some of the best night vision in all the animal kingdom, which we reign, by the way. And I've heard mixed reviews about the new Avatar, so Anyways, there's this surface behind the retina called the tapetum lucidum, which reflects light and gives this wicked cool glowy effect. You know that cliche scene when someone's in a nighttime forest clearing surrounded by glowing eyes? That. Sometimes it even appears to come out red, like Silver's here. Menacing, right? Well, interesting enough, the red spectrum of light is reflected rather than absorbed. Remember how I said we can't see shades of red? That's why. But it's a fair trade, and blue's my favorite color anyways. We've got 42 gorgeous teeth. That's 10 more than humans. It also happens to be the meaning of the universe. And it's widely believed that we can exert over 1,500 pounds of pressure per square inch in our bite. It's worth noting that it only takes about 300 psi for our sharp teeth to crack human skull. So when you see us doing this to a human, we're reminding you of our superiority and your mortality. Wolves have 280 million fantastic olfactory receptors. In comparison, humans have a laughable 6 million olfactory receptors at most. While humans can't even tell if the milk is spoiled until they're flushing their weird-looking muzzles out with water, we can use our sense of smell to tell us all sorts of things about each other in our environment. We can gauge diets, ages, genders, emotional states, and even social statuses and if they'd be up for some Netflix and chill. Bet. To add to your obvious and completely rational amazement of our being and physique. We can even smell heat. No, I didn't just misspeak. We can detect thermal radiation with our incredible noses. I know that might be hard for some of my human viewers to imagine, but maybe this will help you understand how dogs can be so good at sniffing out volatile organic compounds like those which are associated with cancer. They get that talent from us, after all. Don't ask me how we got the pug. Our two amazing ears can hear sounds within the range of 45 Hz and 80,000 Hz. Puny human ears generally range from 64 Hz to 23,000 Hz. You hear that right now? That's my buddies from 10 miles away howling with laughter at you. We can also tell who's who with our unique voices and songs. Humans call this bioacoustics. Basically, our voice is like a human fingerprint, and researchers are listening to our vocal signatures to learn more about us through our movements in a way that camera traps can't. There are also less intrusive than tracking collars, which requires maintenance and a lot of money. Basically, we have superior paws to bap you with, finer eyes to track you with, enhanced teeth to nom you with, higher quality noses to sniff you all over with, and when anyone in the world plays the original soundtrack of Wolf's Rain, we can hear it and get a little emotional.
Been a long road to follow, been there and gone tomorrow.
Humans are just jealous of how awesome we are. They envy us, and rightly so. But often what humans envy, they destroy. Admiration can turn into envy can turn into resentment, and resentment can turn into hatred. And hatred leads to suffering. Or whatever. Wolves are very much like humans who come in all shapes and sizes, from short and small to tall and large, and with a variety of distinct personalities. A wolf pack is a family unit, and we go through the same life stages as people do. When we are pups, we're joined at the hip with our moms and believe everything they have to say, including Santa Wolf and the fairy God Raven, who takes our puppy teeth to adorn their nest with. They're so morbid. When we get into our adolescent years, we often become a bit more daring and rebellious as we discover more about ourselves. In adulthood, we become more refined and established, and in our geriatric years, we become caretakers just like Grandma and Granddad. They usually watch over the pups, the sick, and the wounded at the den when the more youthful adults are out hunting to provide for the rest of the pack. Our domesticated relatives, dogs, never make it past the puppy stage. They remain joined at the hip and subservient to their human caretakers their whole lives. Honestly though, that's what makes them good pets. You wouldn't want to try to keep a wolf or a wolf dog as a pet. Where dogs will be perfectly happy living in captivity, wolves often don't take well to it at all. Like humans, no matter how comfortable you try to make them, a gilded cage is still a cage. Dogs are also highly trainable. Wolves, not so much. We don't listen to orders given to us. Well, okay. We listen, but we rarely obey. Why? Because we don't wanna, and you can't make us. The only ones we're gonna take orders from are significant other foxes with great tails. And by that I mean to say that they're really long, bushy, and mesmerizing. No homo. Yes, homo. Now I know some of you might be thinking, hold up now. Did he just say wolves take orders from foxes? Let me explain. Beneath this majestic, rugged, and powerful appearance that inspires reverence and respect to all its blessed witnesses lies creamy nougat that is soft and sweet. If we let someone in there, we'll do anything for them. As a matter of fact, wolves are known to sacrifice themselves for their loved ones. Generally speaking, though, we don't listen to human fuzz, and we definitely don't do well on a leash. Let me show you what I mean.
Cat-like whiskers, teeth, and paws, combined with their canid instincts, make red foxes so versatile they can be found almost anywhere.
I think the most misunderstood thing about fox, you always hear how cunning and sly they are. I just find it very hard to visualise how this relates to a fox. To me, they're such an intelligent animal. They're very...
Anyways, you don't want a wolf as a pet. You want a Damascus dog like Kai here. She looks perfect on the outside, but inside she's a crazy dog who will steal and chew holes at all of your socks, as it should be. She does well on a leash. Well, sort of.
Okay, you ready for your walk? All right. Here we go. Hold on. Just a sec. Oh, we almost got it. Okay.
Wolves will steal and sell all of your stocks, and they won't even share it with you. Better yet, you can adopt a dog who needs a good forever home. If you really want to go for the look, stick with a wolf look-alike dog, not a wolf or a dog who's been bred with wolves in the last several hundred years. When this happens, you're essentially jumping back several thousand years of domestication and playing Russian roulette with all the lives involved, including the wolf dog. Long story short, people shouldn't try to keep wolves or wolf dogs as pets. When I was still working at the wolf sanctuaries, we'd get anywhere from 2 to 5 phone calls and 6 to 10 emails every week from someone trying to place their animal somewhere that can care for them. More often than not, this was their last resort and we simply couldn't take any more. It's estimated that out of 250,000 wolves and wolf dogs born in captivity every year, 80% won't see their 3rd birthday. It's terrible and heartbreaking. They should have never ended up in that situation, and the blame lies squarely on the naive and selfish people buying them and the pathetic breeders who sell them. Now I know there are plenty of stories out there from people who will say, "But I or my friend had a wolf or wolf dog as a pet and they were wonderful." Quite frankly, I don't care to hear it. It's the lucky few, and their little experiences with the few wolves or wolf dogs that they've dealt with do not outweigh the majority of them, i.e., the ones who didn't fare well and were likely euthanized. Every wolf sanctuary in the world is already full to the brim with discarded animals who were all selfishly purchased by someone who knew what they were doing. But I'll stop myself while I'm ahead there. Those people don't want to listen to what I have to say on that any more than I want to listen to their excuses and justifications. They don't have to deal with the aftermath, though. The sanctuaries do. The sanctuaries are in business to go out of business, and would love to never receive another call or email looking for them to take care of a wolf who would otherwise be euthanized if they didn't. Wolves need to stay in the wild where they belong, not in the hands of some foolish, self-absorbed human. Unfortunately, however, wolves that are raised with significant exposure and dependency on humans can never be reintegrated back into the wild. Wolves do not belong in the breakfast nook. That is, of course, if they aren't a werewolf catching up on the news and drinking their coffee before meeting with their 13 friends in the forest later that night for a pretty wild party. Charity work for the needy, I'm told. Or was it the hyperflexible? No matter. The point is, we look really good in and out of underwear. At least I think that was the point. Let's keep moving on though, or else we'll get distracted with digging up all the artwork we thought of. Or pause and get back to me. You do you. Now let's talk about a little conservation history and our profound impact on the environment. We owe a lot of what we know about wolves to a man named Gordon Haber. Gordon Haber was a wildlife biologist who dedicated most of his adult life to studying wolves and their behaviors in Alaska. He completely revolutionized the way biologists saw wolves and challenged the very foundation of wildlife conservation. Gordon died in a plane crash back in 2009 doing what he loved to do most, tracking and researching wolves. Haber was a divisive figure amongst his peers, but he could have cared less of how his colleagues saw him. All he wanted was for people to see wolves as the intelligent family members that they are, with complex societies that work together in unison better than humans, he'd often claim. He was a very opinionated person who was more than happy to express them, or shout them very loudly through a megaphone. He often challenged his fellow biologists, including David Meach, probably the most prominent wolf biologist at that time, who incorrectly popularized the terms alpha male and alpha female, which would later be used by ultra machismo dudes, as we've previously discussed. Meach would come to regret this later and has even tried to discontinue the printing of his earlier book, The Wolf, the Ecology and the Behavior of an Endangered Species, which was first published in 1970 and is riddled with inaccuracies. Probably because most of the research Meach had done and to this day was on captive wolves, which is definitely not the same thing. One of the largest reasons wolf advocates rallied behind Gordon Haber was due to his stance on wolf management. This is something that Meach has refused to become involved with and was a major source of their contention between each other. Where David tries to maintain a hands-off approach and avoids politics, Gordon was very vocal about politics. He wanted to see his research used responsibly and worried about it being misused. Where he could say, the East Fork family is healthy with 9 adult members and I expect a good pupping season, politicians and special interest groups may cherry-pick this and say, there's enough of them for us to hunt. They didn't care to know about the family dynamics and naively dismissed their dramatic effect on the environment. Bear in mind, that much of this was happening before the 1995 reintroduction of wolves to Yellowstone National Park, which solidified much of Gordon's 43 years of research on wild wolves, their behaviors, social structures, and the effect on the environment, most notably predator-prey relations as canon, and likely humbled Meach in the process, even if it took him 30 more years to admit it. Anyways, Gordon Haber was a passionate and complicated person who will be sorely missed. His research on wolves provided us with a clearer interpretation of the truth about them and their family structures. He wasn't without his flaws, though, but hey, no human is perfect. Wolves are perfect, as I'm sure Haber would agree, and we love him. While there's still a bunch of ignorant people who believe we're just bloodthirsty killers, truth be told, we promote and support far more lives than we take. This is just another human projection of their own issues misplaced onto us. To add insult to injury, humans are notoriously terrible at managing the environment. Wolves have been successfully managing much of the world's lands for millions of years with no issues, but humans come in and mess it all up in a matter of a couple thousand. Then they say we're the bad ones. We're killing all the ungulates. These type used to be called fat eaters, but now they want to be called stewards of the land. Give me a break. Look, let us do our job and get your ecosystem-destroying bovine off our property. We know what we're doing because we've been doing it for eons. It's only been in the past 20 or so years that the arrogant and slow to catch on humans have been realizing how incredibly important wolves are to their regions. And I'm sorry to offend any of my human audience by saying that humans as a species and in its short existence are arrogant and conceited, but it's damn true. Everything just has to be about them. By the way, did I tell you how perfect wolves are? Seriously, in like every way, we're just fucking fantastic. To elaborate on our immaculate nature, and our impact on the rest of nature, did you know that wolves bring balance to the regions where they reside, and can even change the way rivers flow with their presence? We're like freaking magicians over here. Can David Copperfield do that? I think not. And even if he could, it'd be fake. There's no magic about it. Just by having wolves around, we change the course of rivers and we do it effortlessly. But it only stays that way with our continued presence. Also, wolves love trees, and it's not just to pee on them. Okay, maybe it's just to pee on them, but that's a convenient place to mark territory. We help trees grow in the areas where we live, and it's got nothing to do with scent marking. We do this by causing something called a trophic cascade. A trophic cascade is a powerful indirect interaction that affects an ecosystem directly. That sounds complicated, so let's break it down. It's like a domino effect. In simple terms, the sun gives energy to vegetation. Herbivores like deer eat the vegetation, and predator animals like wolves eat the deer. If the animals who survive on the vegetation cannot get enough to eat, their numbers decline. And if their numbers decline, the predator animals that survive off of their prey decline too. This is an example of a bottom-up trophic cascade. A top-down trophic cascade starts with the predators. So Yellowstone National Park is a really good example of what happens to the environment with both wolf removal and reintroduction. With wolves having been removed from the park for roughly 125 years, or 3/4 of the park's history, the elk and deer spent more time foraging near the riverbanks where they would otherwise be more vulnerable to their natural predators. As a result, they consumed most of the vegetation that grew alongside it and prevented it from growing back. But then beavers couldn't build their dams and the current of the river increased in speed. This quickly eroded the soil because the roots had all withered away. Because of that, all the ground nesting birds like trumpet swans, pelicans, and ducks no longer were able to hide their eggs in the dense flora as they were used to. This caused foxes, badgers, and other critters that rely off of these food sources to either leave or die of starvation. So that's a top-down trophic cascade where wolves have been removed from Yellowstone. What biologists didn't expect was how much wolves affected the behavior of other species. After wolves were reintroduced back to Yellowstone in 1995, the deer began to spend less time in open spaces and along the riverbanks. Tree growth increased in the park, and more birds and small mammals like foxes and beavers came back. The water quality of the streams and rivers improved and literally changed their course as the beavers built new dams and slowed the river's current, decreasing erosion and further promoting root growth. The trophic cascade of wolf reintroduction made the park become more biodiverse, not less, just by us being there. This resulted in a healthier ecosystem for everyone, even the species of animals wolves prey upon. I'll say it again. Wolves promote life. It's pretty amazing when you think about it. And all of this wolves did just by doing what they do best. Hunting for foxes. Dinner. Hunting for dinner. Yeah. Wildlife biologists all around the world reference the wolf's reintroduction to Yellowstone now, and several European countries have been reintroducing wolves to their own lands as well. A notable program is taking place in northern Germany, where wolves have been making a huge comeback with massive support from the public. People are excited to see wolves return, and can you blame them? We're amazing. I'd be lying if I said everyone was happy about it though. Only the people who matter are happy at least. However, it's pretty telling that the bulk of the people who are upset about it are mostly hunters. At first they said they were worried that wolves would harm the ungulate populations. Of course that didn't happen. Wolves balance their populations, but in turn, that meant that they were no longer having issues with the overpopulation of deer. So hunters who first said that they cared about the deer and elk were now asking if they could hunt wolves so they could hunt the deer and elk again. Fortunately, the bulk of the population criticizes this hypocritical and blatant desire for their blood sport fetishism for what it is. Hey, since we're talking about wolves around the world, did you know that wolves are one of the most adaptable land mammals? We're all over the place. Well, at least we were. But good people who value nature and science are trying to change that. Good people like you, right? Wolves, like trees, once spread across most of the lands. There weren't many places we didn't call home. Currently, there are wolves in Eurasia, like Exton Wolf here from China. Look at this handsome guy. He's actually a steppe wolf, also known as a steppe wolf by no one but furries, or a Caspian sea wolf, which is native to the Caspian Mountains and Black Sea, as seen here. Except that's not Eurasia. That's Canada. This is Eurasia. But I'm sure everyone watching already knew that. Unfortunately, the United Kingdom doesn't have any wolves at this time. There are discussions of reintroduction, though no active plans. So for now, they'll have to deal with grumpy werewolves who just want more wolf friends to howl with on full moon nights. And wait in forest for that charity work we discussed earlier. Nature Scott, formerly the Scottish Natural Heritage, has tossed around the idea of reintroducing wolves due to the over 750,000 ungulates in their country, which have no natural predators to control them. This forces the government to spend millions of pounds, that's money to us Americans, every year to perpetuate this violent cycle. Wolves don't need to kill over 150,000 every year to reduce their populations. We can do this just by being present. We can be proactive rather than reactive. Territories held by wolf families could stretch over 2,400 square miles, with boundaries that are in constant flux with neighboring packs of wolves. For the most part, the only thing that decides held territory is how recently there's been activity in the region. But wolf packs scout and patrol their territory every day. It's common for a family of wolves to travel 30 to 40 miles in a day, and one Mongolian wolf has a world record for traveling 4,503 miles in a single year. Of course, that's just what humans have recorded, though. Who knows what legendary wolves existed before us and the records that they would hold. While rivaling wolf packs with competing borders may bring quibbles between each other, it's mostly just for show. Truth be told, we try to avoid direct conflicts and instead opt for a game of peeing on each other's territories when they aren't there. Seriously, this game is awesome. Next time someone makes you mad, try peeing on the cushions of their lawn chairs when they aren't there. You don't even have to wait and watch them sit in it to know that you've achieved your victory. It's such a satisfying feeling. Of course, if there's just too many prime targets, try peeing in one spot and kicking around as far as you can. It'll help you cover more space, the beautiful canvas of your foes. This is why it's always important to stay hydrated, friends. Not only is scent marking a good way to communicate territorial holdings between wolf families, it also helps in keeping those scurvy coyotes out. They're always causing trouble and they don't listen to humans well. But they do listen to wolves and they kneel to our superiority. As we discussed in the previous episode, coyotes are gross and will eat whatever rubbish they can find. They are devoid of all standards, and they are thieves. We're constantly having to kick them off our property, but sometimes they don't take the hint and confrontations can turn violent pretty quickly. Again though, we're generally not looking for a fight, we're looking for a meal. It's easier and safer to chase off a coyote than to get overly physical with them and risk personal injury. We have more mass and usually always have our friends and family nearby, so we get the final say on the matter. But sometimes if no one's looking and they're really hot, well, some bitches might be expecting some bastard pups. It's not very common, but accidents happen.
Excuse me?
Happy accidents.
Excuse me, Wolfgang? Hang on a minute. Just hang on a minute. First of all, mister, yes, you are a wolf. Great. Wolves are so cool. Oh, look at me. I'm a wolf. I'm going to howl at the moon. Oh, wow. So cool. So cool. But you invited me here as a guest because you said this would be educational. Talk about coyotes and blah, 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 blah. But so far...
So that's Thorn. He's a mutt, but we love him anyways. And I'm sure the wolf loved his mom and totally stuck around to help raise this little wanker. It wasn't just a one-off thing. Probably. Because wolves and coyotes are both life mates. Uh-huh. Yeah. Probably. Mrs. Burnt Paw is a very fine lady Yodi. Now I know some of you might feel like I'm glossing over the fact that wolves do kill coyotes. It happens from time to time. But here's the most important takeaway from that. It's not anywhere near the 50 to 100,000 of them like the USDA's Wildlife Services kills every year, or the few 100,000 more that are killed in contest and to meet some ranchers' quotas. Not even close. Like the deer, just by having wolves around, we change the patterns of other critters, coyotes included. Call me extreme, but I think that avoidable deaths should be, avoided. It's senseless really, and it needs to stop. The whole way we manage our wildlife needs to be reevaluated, especially when concerning our predator species which have been historically stigmatized and persecuted. Wolves were completely extirpated from the lower 48 states by 1950 with aggressive extermination campaigns. Campaigns that would sweep most of the country, issue bounties, and hire aircrafts to get to the places which were too hard for humans to travel on foot. But we're already almost 40 minutes in and haven't even begun to get into the details of the past and current legislation. Part 2 will focus more on these issues. We'll discuss Rouge wolves and Mexican wolves, and we've also got some new music and some more fun fursuit material for you as well. So please stay tuned in for that one too. It's important. Before we go though, I'd like to tell you about an amazing charity. Wild Earth Guardians is a fantastic organization who's been championing and representing our wildlife since 1989. I first became aware of them in 2009 when wolves were illegally removed from the ESA in Wyoming, Montana, and Idaho, but we'll get more into that in part 2. Wild Earth Guardians, along with many other organizations, challenged the Department of Interiors and ultimately restored the wolf to federally protected status. They continue to fight for wolves and the rest of nature today, and I'm proud to be a sustaining member with my monthly donation. I hope you'll consider supporting them too, and I'll leave a link below in the description of this video. Thanks so much for joining me tonight. I'm always going to assume it's nighttime because I'm crepuscular and I loathe mornings. All the creative content presented in this episode will be listed in the credits at the end of this video. Additional resources and links to our featured charity can be found in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you all in a few. Click the link. Ciao!